We've got John, pronouns he, him, calling in from Orangutan Hymens, who is a theist who wants to know our opinion on Christopher Hitchens. John, you're on the line with Forrest and Promise. How are you doing today?
Okay, how are you guys?
Doing
awesome,
well,
man. We just learned about beaver aliens. How could I be
that was
sad
wild
right now?
Oh, boy. Well, I heard you at the beginning of the program that you were lauding Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah.
Do you feel
just
that,
like anybody, there's a lot of things that I love about him, some things that I don't, but overall, I think he was a net positive.
Do you feel that his atheism led to his alcoholism and depression?
No, I think that's a silly thing to try to connect.
Yeah, I know a lot of Christians that are depressed and alcoholics. So I think people are very complex, and I think most of the time when people have addiction issues like that, something has started way before they're even thinking or having, the ability to determine if they believe in a God or not.
Yeah, I also, like me, I am exactly as atheist and anti-theist as Christopher Hitchens. I share a lot of the same beliefs that he has. In fact, I learned a lot from him. He was a major influence on my career and on my anti-theism. And I don't even like drinking. I don't do any drugs. I don't smoke. I don't do any of those things.
Would you consider yourself to be happy? Would you consider yourself to be happy?
Exceedingly.
One of the reasons I do this, John, is because when I was a Christian my entire life up until about 25, 26, and I was experiencing massive amounts of anxiety and depression, and life was really difficult because I was not able to seek out proper life skills and tools to help me cope with some different things I was struggling with. Also, a lot of the problems that I had were directly because of the environment, the Christian culture that I was in. And, it's a whole long story, but essentially leaving that and being able to just be fully intellectually honest, to be able to get to know different types of people that I had never known before, to be able to interact with the rest of the world on an intellectually honest level changed everything for me. And I have been able to make significantly better choices every year since I left religion than when I was in it. And therefore, my quality of life continues to get better and better and better. And I continue to be a much happier person because my circumstances are there more by my design rather than by dogma. If that
my
answers your question.
Atheism and my not just atheism, but my whole philosophy, which is largely rooted in nihilism, actually gives me a tremendous amount of joy and freedom and purpose and meaning. It allows me to create the life that I want and be very, very excited about it. I'm damn giddy all the time. I'm telling you, I wake up with a smile every single day, and I go to bed with a bigger smile every single day. I'm very, very happy and very, very atheist.
Well, you said it gives you your purpose. Can you tell us what that purpose is?
Yeah. So I sort of misspoke there. I could have been more clear, but I didn't think it was necessary. But since you're asking, I don't think that there is any meaning to anything. I am a cosmic nihilist. I believe that there is no such thing as meaning or purpose or anything like that on a grand scale. I don't think there's any purpose to my life, my existence, to any existence, to the earth, to the human population, to anything. Nothing matters whatsoever. And that allows me to create the meaning that I want to make. And I find great meaning and great joy and great purpose in helping other people's lives get better and in spreading goodwill and making everybody smile and standing up for people's rights and dignities and making sure that everybody's treated right. Like those are things that fill me with joy and fill me with what you could call purpose. I don't believe there's any actual purpose for life at all. That's the one that I like and the one that I've chosen. It's just good for me. But that is also a totally different rabbit trail that if we go down, we're going to get way away from the point where you called. So I'm happy to talk about it. But I don't recommend it.
Can I ask Promise what her purpose is?
Yeah, again, I also don't believe that there's such thing as objective purpose at all. I think that nothing matters. Therefore, whatever matters to me is what matters in my world. And what's really cool about that is that instead of being told what my purpose should be, instead of being told what matters, I get to improve what my purpose is and what matters to me as I learn more about the world around me, as I gain empathy for the people around me. I get to develop that purpose and develop meaning in my life. And so for me, I don't have this like clearly defined, oh, this is my purpose. I think purpose for me is things like joy and shared time and community with others. So I tend to design my life in a way that gets me access to those things more easily and also allows me to hopefully create more of that in other people's lives as well.
Yeah, and if I can just say, like, it sounds awful to me to have an objective purpose. If like the idea of a God giving me a purpose, that sounds the closest thing to hell that I can imagine being real. Imagine being born with a purpose. Your life is planned out. You no freedom, no actual choice, no actual will. Eventually you're gonna do the thing that God wanted you to do. You are destined. Your destiny is already predetermined, and you're just this fucking robot that thinks it's free, that is doing a job in this grand game of chess for God to win a game against itself. Like, that sounds miserable. I hate the idea of an actual purpose.
Well, that brings me back to Christopher Hitchens. If you feel that he had no purpose, maybe that's what led him to alcoholism and depression.
So we can just go back to the beginning of the call and play it again on repeat. I have a lot of the same philosophies that Christopher Hitchens has. If anything, I believe in less purpose than Christopher Hitchens did. And I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I'm very happy. And I know a lot of Christians who believe in purpose who struggle with addiction of all kinds and depression of all kinds. So no, those are different things.
Yeah. And I think what it comes down to for me, John, is also I didn't become an atheist because I thought it had amazing things to offer me, or I thought it had purpose to offer me, or I thought it was going to fix any of my problems. I became an atheist because I stopped believing in a God. And so that made me an atheist. And I'm somebody that stopped believing in a God because I wanted to only believe things that are true. And I did not find reason to believe that was true. And so if we, it's like talking about two totally different things. So talking about whether somebody should be an atheist or theist, that should just be based off of if they believe or if they don't believe. If you want to talk about like, well, should people still pretend to believe even if they don't, because maybe they'll be prone less to alcoholism and things like that, that's an entirely different conversation. And that's going to depend on each individual person, because then we can just go back and forth and I can say, here's a pastor that was molesting kids and had a drug habit. And then you can say, here's an atheist who killed himself. And I can say, cool, here's a theist who had massive depression their whole life. Here's a theist that was a serial killer. Here's an atheist that did this, or that. Like going back and forth like that. To me, that's less interesting than actually getting to the heart of like, is this something that's true or not?
Well, if you want to find out what something is true, what do you feel is the truth?
About what?
About life.
What about life?
I mean, that would be like an infinite answer.
What is the truth about your life?
About my life?
Alive, as far as I know.
Yes, Thomas. The truth. What is the truth about your life, Thomas?
What kind of, are you looking for some like abstract answer? Because I can tell you I'm not going to say it on here, but I can tell you my birthday. I can tell you my height. I can tell you I got brown eyes. I've got mostly kind of grayish brown hair that is dyed. I really, really, really like hanging out with my friends. All of those are true things about my life. I swallowed a quarter when I was 5 years old, or maybe I was 6, and that was exciting. I have so many things I can tell you that are true about my life. I have the X-ray actually of it sitting there. They did have to remove it. I do have the quarter too.
Horrific. Hell yeah.
So John, I don't know. Like when you say what is true about your life, I can give you so many answers.
Yeah, if you ask me what's true about my life, I would say that I am currently alive, but I won't be for long. That's the truth about my life, is that it's going to end, but it is currently happening, it seems. Yeah.
Well, I guess I was asking about your present life, not when it ended.
Well, I don't know what the question is. I don't know what you mean. It's like asking me what's the truth about the color purple. It
Well,
is. What does it do?
I guess
Like,
I guess if you don't have a purpose, then you wouldn't have a truth to your life.
that doesn't make any sense either. See, here's the thing, man, is that like it sounds to me like you have this like paradigm in your head where if you believe in God, you will then have purpose and you will then be happy and never do drugs and all this stuff. And you seem to need this answer from us that, yeah, we stopped believing in God and then we became nihilists and then we all drank ourselves to death. And that's just what happens, man. And it's like, that's just not realistic. I ask you, just can you grapple with one thing that we've brought up several times? Why do you think it is that there are a lot of believers in the same religion as you who struggle with addiction and depression? Why do you think that is?
I can't speak for other people. All I can do is speak for myself.
So let's talk
So
about
why
you,
do you
John.
think it's necessary? I'm sorry, promises for why do you think then that it's necessary to find this causal link between Christopher Hitchens being an atheist and then becoming an alcoholic and depressed if you can't speak for anybody else?
Yeah,
Why
you
do you
just
think that
asked
in this
us
one
to
case?
speculate. Right, you're asking us to speculate on somebody else, but then you're not willing to do it.
Well, I was just wondering if you thought there was. I'm not asking you whether.
Okay, I'm asking you the same question. I'm asking you the same question, John. Why do you think, not asking you to whatever, just the same question you asked us, but pick any random Christian who has struggles with alcoholism, depression, addiction to other drugs. Why do you think that might be?
Because they don't know the truth.
Okay, so John,
Or
what is?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Forrest. What is your life purpose, John?
What is my life purpose?
Yes.
To serve God.
What's
Cool.
the
What
truth?
God? And how do you know what God? I guess let's go to that first.
The God that is in the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
The God of the Bible, a Christian God?
The Christian God, yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how do you know what that God wants you to do?
Because he incarnated on earth and he told us directly what to do.
How do you know that that's true?
Because there were several eyewitnesses that saw him.
Where are these eyewitness accounts? How many eyewitness accounts? Because if somebody calls in talking to us about Hindu gods or Allah, they also say there's eyewitness accounts and stuff, and there's people that saw this. But then when we get to it, I think you're about to say, are you going to talk about the 500 witnesses? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you believe in the Gospels and Paul's writings.
But why do you believe that those are true?
The same reason that I would hear testimony in a court of law where several different witnesses gave the same testimony.
Yeah, so bad reasons, because that's
a terrible reason to believe something.
Yeah, it's awful. What do you say to all the other people and all the other religions that say the exact same thing you just said about the eyewitness testimony of their gods? What do you think about them?
What are they? What is their testimony?
There's so many that we've probably not heard of them. So, like, what would you say to these different ones? Why should we believe yours over theirs?
Because it was confirmed.
By what?
By eyewitness testimony.
That is what we are talking about, John. We said that there's eyewitness testimony, and you said, yes, I believe this eyewitness testimony because it was confirmed by eyewitness testimony. That doesn't make any sense, good sir. That's not a good reason to believe a thing.
Yeah, John, if somebody called if somebody called the show, let's say 5 people in a row called the show and said that they were all at this place and that this pink teddy bear appeared out of the sky and said, I am God. And you should believe me. And here I'm going to leave. obviously. And here is this book that I'm going to leave you. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. And those people call us and they say, look, we've got the book. You need to believe us because we're giving you recent eyewitness account. This is not some like old book that's been retranslated and all of this. This is like they just saw this happen. Why should we believe your claim over theirs?
Well, we would have to depose them.
What does that mean? In the context of what you just said, what is that?
Depose them in a court of law.
Cool. And we could actually do that with them. We couldn't do that with the claims that you're making because you're saying it's people that aren't alive anymore. So again, why should I believe you over them? Because actually now I would be more inclined to believe their claim than yours.
Also, further question, have you deposed the people who made the eyewitness claims in the Bible in a court of law? Or has anybody ever done anything even close to that?
Well, they did back in the first century.
No, they just murdered people.
Here's the thing, man. Did not do that.
If you're okay with it, promise, I'd like to give a specific example of what we're talking about here. You know, but I love the pink teddy bear. That is real. That is the one true God. But also there's also this here. Satya Sai Baba is one that I like to point to from time to time when we get into these kinds of conversations. Satya Sai Baba lived in our lifetime. He died in 2011, was born in 1926. He was a guru in India. He had millions of followers. He said he was the reincarnation of some other guy that was also some great guru and all this stuff. He has millions of followers who claim that he was able to heal people miraculously, that he was clairvoyant, that he was able to produce rings and necklaces and watches and stuff from thin air, that he resurrected the dead. People claim that he was omnipotent and omnipresent and omniscient. He had all the omnis. This is a living God that millions of people believed in, millions of eyewitness testimonies in our lifetime. Why do you not worship this man? Why don't you believe that he was real? Why have you probably never even heard of him?
I have never even heard of him.
Right. Why? Why do you think that is?
Well, obviously, because it's not true.
I've heard of Allah. Does that make Allah true?
No.
Okay, so what's the difference then? Why are you able to dismiss this guy as saying that even though he has millions of followers and eyewitnesses to his so-called miracles, you know for sure he's not real? Why are you able to do that without even learning the first thing about him? But with this God, you have a 2,000-year-old book which has been retranslated, reinterpreted, changed, adapted, rewritten 1,000,001 times, and this one is for sure real. What's the difference? Why are you able to say one thing is true and the other one isn't?
Well, let's depose his eyewitnesses.
No, because you have not and will not be able to depose the Bible or the people who wrote it. So why do you believe the Bible? Because the Bible says it says, but you don't believe this dude who is literally a guy who literally lived in the real world that we can all agree and confirm he really did exist, and he has millions of people that believe in him. Why don't you believe in this guy, but you do believe in this Iron Age sex manual?
I told you, because they were able to depose him in the first century.
No, they weren't. You don't. Where is your evidence? Like, where is this court of law? Where is the hearing? Where are the transcripts from this? Where's your evidence that is true at all? Because we could go depose these people and actually record it and show it to you. You could be there. You could sit in the room.
Also, religious devotees are going to give an accurate test, or not an accurate, but a sincere testimony that'll probably even hold up to like a polygraph and some other dumb shit that happens all the time.
Well, as they say, the proof is in the pudding, so let's depose these people.
Okay, so you're just saying the same thing over and over. Let me ask you this.
Well, I'm saying the same thing about the Bible. Like, let's depose your claims, but you're, again, not getting it. Sorry, go ahead, Forrest.
there are no, what's so important to remember is that there are no confirmed eyewitness accounts of the events of the Bible, especially the events of Jesus. Mark was written in 66 AD. Matthew and Luke were written around 85 AD. John was written around 100 AD. None of these people met Jesus. None of these people were eyewitnesses. This is the telephone game. This is somebody talking to somebody, talking to somebody, talking to somebody, and then they wrote down some folktales. There are no eyewitness accounts that have been confirmed. There was no deposed or deposable person who is, in the Bible here. That never happened. You're probably talking about the persecution of early Christians, which is a very common Christian talking point, to say these people were tried and executed for their beliefs and therefore they're real. But that doesn't make any sense. Somebody can be deposed and lie. Somebody can be deposed and be insane and say things that aren't true. None of that actually proves anything. And also, you're not holding Satya Sai Baba or his followers to the same standard of evidence that you hold your God or its followers. So I'm asking you, why don't you believe in that for the same reason?
I would believe in Satya Baba if you were able to depose his witnesses.
He's dead. So how do we do that?
Okay.
Yeah. Just like Jesus.
So, John, why are you willing to believe in your God claim without holding it to the same standard that you would require this new God claim?
Well, I'm willing to believe in this new God if you can prove his claims.
That wasn't my question. Let me repeat this. Why are you willing to believe in a God claim that does not meet the standards that you would require of a new God claim?
I don't understand the question.
So you're willing, you're willing to believe this Christian God without requiring the same evidence of it that you're now requiring in order to change your mind. Why is there a lower standard for the Christian God to live up to than there is for this new one we presented to you?
There isn't a lower standard. I'm saying that I will believe in this Satya Baba if you can produce the witnesses.
No, right. Why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You don't have any eyewitnesses for Jesus. You don't have any eyewitnesses for the Christian God. No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
There aren't any. There's a book there you have in the Bible where it says that there were some witnesses, but that's the claim. That's just a book. The same way that I can point to like in the Lord of the Rings and it says people saw XYZ thing doesn't mean it's real. You don't have any actual evidence outside of the Bible to say that this stuff actually happened or that anybody actually witnessed it.
I don't have any evidence for Plato and Socrates except for what's in a book either.
Do you believe that they're God?
Don't believe you don't base your belief about the nature of reality or what will cause alcoholism based on Plato or Socrates. Like, here's the thing, man. Like, if I show you, there's a real book called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It's an actual book about the historical figure Abraham Lincoln hunting vampires. I can demonstrate to you proof that Abraham Lincoln was a real guy. None of that proof is going to come from me referencing that book. I cannot prove to you that vampires are real. And if I try to point to that book and say Abraham Lincoln is real, and here we have a book about Abraham Lincoln and also vampires, therefore vampires are real, I would be justifiably tased if I was trying to like explain this to a group of people. Like that just would be a silly thing to say. So here you are saying, you don't have any evidence that Jesus was real. You don't have any evidence that God is real. You don't have any evidence of these eyewitnesses, but you have this book that says these things. And you're going off of that and saying, aha, therefore it's all real. You have less evidence for this God than you do for the vampires that Abraham Lincoln killed.
Was there anybody living during the time of Abraham Lincoln that had anything to do with vampires?
I can't tell if you are deliberately missing the point or not. So yeah, people believed in vampires during the age of Abraham Lincoln. Does that mean vampires are real?
So do you feel that Abraham Lincoln had something to do with vampires?
I'm asking you a question. I have a book called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It's about Abraham Lincoln hunting vampires. And you and I can both agree that Abraham Lincoln was real and that people around the time of Abraham Lincoln believed in vampires. Does that mean that vampires are real and that Abraham Lincoln hunted them?
This book that you're talking about is not contemporary with Abraham Lincoln.
Why do you think that? Why don't you believe in vampires, John? Because I have a book that says they're real.
I'm saying that the book you're talking about is not contemporary with Abraham Lincoln.
Of course not. Just like all modern history books aren't contemporary with Abraham Lincoln, but they have references and cite real things that Abraham Lincoln did do. And the book Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, it absolutely does reference a lot of things that are very real about Abraham Lincoln's life. It also talks about vampires. Does that mean vampires are real, John?
We're talking about contemporary witnesses to Abraham Lincoln, and this book is not a contemporary eyewitness.
There are contemporary witnesses to Abraham Lincoln, John. We know Abraham Lincoln was real, and there are contemporary witnesses, and there are contemporary people around the time of Abraham Lincoln who do write about vampires. That's a thing. So, do you believe in vampires?
This book is not contemporary with Abraham Lincoln, the way that the Gospels are with Jesus Christ.
Okay, since we're doing that, I'm just going to go back and repeat myself.
And also, that's just not even true. It was written after Jesus had been dead. So
that's what I'm saying. I already said this. But I guess, John, you weren't listening. Mark was written around 66 AD. Matthew was written around 85 AD. John was written around 100 AD. None of these people were eyewitnesses to Jesus.
You're making these claims. Now, what's your evidence?
That's our point to you, John.
We care about evidence now.
That's our very point to you.
What is your evidence that Matthew was written at 80 or 90?
What's your evidence that it was written at any other time?
Because we have the writing in person. We're looking at it.
Your Bible was written at that time? You should probably check it into a museum because that's groundbreaking. Or do you have a book that is probably produced in the last, I would say, 20 to something years?
We don't have the original books that were written about Plato.
No, we don't.
What does that matter?
And I don't base my life around Plato's or Socrates. I don't give a shit what they said or thought. It's not interesting to me anyways. So we're not talking about them. You are the one saying that you believe an entire God currently exists based off of these things from the past. And we're asking for evidence to connect that claim. I've made no claims about Plato or Socrates because I don't care.
Also, I didn't find any first accounts. I didn't find any primary sources because I'm not a theologian or a Bible scholar. I don't have access to those. I'm not going to go digging for them right now. But I did just find from thebibleproject.com here a whole page about the book of Matthew. The book was likely composed between 50 and 90 CE. So this is even like a Christian organization that's reiterating what I'm talking about. Dude, this is not it's not news to anybody that this is not actually contemporary eyewitness evidence. All you're saying over and over.
For example, also, John, we don't. So, John, we do not have documents that Matthew sat and wrote. We don't have that at all. Everything that we have is a copy of a copy, probably even of a copy. And most of that is fragments as well. We do not have any original text at all.
There are zero original writings from the Bible. Absolutely none. There are no original documents from the Bible. They are all copies of copies of copies. That's not unique to Matthew.
If Matthew wrote in 50, it was obvious that he would have been an eyewitness in his lifetime of seeing Jesus.
So, John, I think, unless Forrest wants to keep going back and forth, I think that you are having a wall where you're unable to get the points that we're making. That I think if we were talking about any other topic, you would probably be able to follow our train of thought. I would advise you to go listen to this call because I think you're just hitting a wall over and over again. I don't think you're doing it doing it deliberately, because I used to do this as well when I really needed to continue believing something. But we're reaching a point where we're saying the same thing over and over and over again, and you're able to grasp the point when we talk about some other subject, but as soon as we talk about your God claim, you completely throw out your ability to grasp the logic that we've all agreed on. So I would advise that you go back and listen to that. I appreciate that you've been respectful and that you've engaged honestly, and you've had a nice back and forth with us and all of that. So you're welcome to call back anytime. You could even call back the show tonight if you want. You can call my show Chewed Gum, but this is at the point where it's just going absolutely nowhere. And based on the fact that you were just interrupting me while I was in the middle of talking also makes me think that you're not really listening. So now I'm feeling a little less into the callback. But what were you going to say?
I was going to say the Sunday show after dark is already scheduled, and it is Jimmy and Matt. Yeah. Matt actually studied to be a preacher and can tell you all about how we have 0 eyewitness accounts, 0 original writings in the Bible, and can actually provide those sources for you. But again, it's not going to get you anywhere if you can't just admit the fact that you have a different standard of evidence for your God than you do for any other claims about literally anything ever.
I just want to know if Thomas is happy in contrast to Christopher Hitchens.
Jesus, a fucking Christ man, dude.
John, I don't know Christopher Hitchens. I don't know what his levels of happiness were. That's a very subjective thing. I already answered your question at the beginning of the call, which is that I do feel a general happiness in my life. I don't know Christopher Hitchens. Obviously, I don't know him currently, and I never did. In fact, he had already passed before I even became an atheist or ever even heard of him. So I'm not, this is just like a weird way of you explaining to us that you didn't listen to anything we just said and that you were only here with agenda and not to actually have an honest conversation.
It sucks, John. It really sucks. Yes, we are both very happy. We're very happy.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm not happy right now. I'm kind of frustrated with the fact that you're just being dishonest and trying to lead us down this script that you just need us to answer. But like in life, I am quite happy.
I don't need a script.
Oh, by the way, also, I just want to throw this out there. The place where I currently like do research and study and shit, we have a whole department where people are studying addiction. Like it's a major focus of like the scientists that I work with. A lot of people studying addiction. And I'll give you just a big thing here. Atheism isn't one of the things that we test for. I shouldn't say we because I don't work in those labs, but like they talk about risk factors in life. They talk about genetic factors. They talk about epigenetic factors. They talk about trauma. They talk about all sorts of things. Nobody's checking for atheism because there's no like serious pull there of like, I forgot about God and now I drink too much. That's a silly thing to call about.
But also, John, I just want to point out, John, I'm going to point out this last thing before we let you go. If my answer to you is that I am deeply, deeply unhappy and I am struggling with addiction and my life circumstances suck and everything is awful, and when I was a Christian, everything was great, that does not make your claim true, and it doesn't make my lack of belief any less valid. So I trying to engage in this, what I don't know what to call it. I don't know that it's quite ad hominem, but it's trying to engage on this emotional level is not showing to me that you care about what's actually true. And that's where you lost me already at the beginning of the call.
Just so you're happy, not like Christopher Hitchens.
What's genuine question? What's your problem with Hitchens? Because nobody here is Hitchens. Nobody here worships Hitchens. We like some of the things that he said. We don't like some of the things that he said. I disagree with Christopher Hitchens on a few things. He's not a god. He's just a guy who was right about some stuff. And he had some issues. Who cares? What is the point of you dogging on Christopher Hitchens? Like, do you expect us to like defend him or like stick up for him?
I also know plenty of atheists that hate Christopher Hitchens. So this is just like a really bizarre call. You're not being honest. It's very frustrating.
So, like, really, what is the obsession with Christopher Hitchens with you?
Well, I have read some of his writings.
Okay, and that's not what I asked. Why do you keep bringing him up?
I know that he was an alcoholic and a very depressed person.
Why do you keep bringing him up is the question. What's the point of us talking about Christopher Hitchens?
I just wanted to get your thinking on it. You're the one that brought it up at the beginning.
No, I mentioned him to a caller that would probably like his writing.
Okay.
We also have mentioned several other people during this show. So
yeah, I like some of Thomas Jefferson's writing. I think Thomas Jefferson was a shit person. What's the point?
That was it. That's pretty much all.
So you heard a name and you decided to call because you thought that you could tear down this one random guy for no reason. And you can't comprehend that somebody can be happy without your God. Now that he's dead. Or at least I sincerely hope that he's dead, because they buried him quite a long time ago. But like, the point is, like, it doesn't make any sense that this is the thing you're so hung up on.
Well, you brought him up.
Yeah, fuck me. I guess I did. Yeah, it's
conversation.
It's my fault for mentioning a guy. Next time, I'll be sure to bring up all of the pedophile priests, so that maybe we can talk about them and wonder why their God leads them to rape so many children. Have a good rest of your day, John. Good gravy, dude.
That was
lazy.
Really frustrating.
You brought him up.
Okay. Also, like, what? None of that. I mean, like I said, what if we were just like fucking miserable people? What does that have to do with anything?
Yes. I literally cannot stop doing heroin. I'm doing it right now. Why does that prove that your God is real?
Wild.
Wow, that was a great clip we just watched. Hey, Eve, what should the people do now?
Leave a comment, click like, subscribe, patreon.com/ does that say call the line?
Yeah. But if you could have made, we could just make it a little more natural. On the next clip, the outro will be much better.